He's playing the long con. He's like, I'm doing really terrible, so that the people who, the billions of people who watch our show are just going to be like, yo, David is doing badly, kind of thing.
I don't need to take David seriously. Oh,
right,
yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you don't.
Apparently, some people can't keep themselves from coughing during the intro sequence.
Listen, man, I was laughing at what Gundam Drew Hunikai said. All right, that was too good.
Oh man,
David, why are you
barely here?
Nintendo 64?
Yeah, 8 of my pixels have made it for the show today. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday show.
GoldenEye right now.
Having a good one. I had a great weekend. What did I do?
Whoa.
I wasn't sick for the first time in a week and a half. Fantastic. And so I've been actually playing fighting games to train up for this coming weekend, which of course is Frosting Fausties. And it's going pretty badly, actually. Yeah, I'm getting dunked.
I knew it wasn't my ass jerk. I knew how terrible it was going.
All right. Well, how about you guys?
James?
CPT screwed up my sleep schedule more, but other than that, been trying to slowly.
If your sleep schedule gets screwed up, that means it goes back to normal.
Yeah, theoretically,
it can't get more screwed up.
Yeah, I am doing all right, I guess. Surviving, trying to clean my house some more and stuff. So, because my home is a mess, and I keep going through phases. Like at one point in time, I had to clean up the floor. And so everything ended up on top of all the desks and stuff. And so now I'm trying to clean up everything on top of the desks. And now everything's ending up on the floor again. So it's just a cycle. I don't know what's wrong with David's camera, dude.
He's just straight up is in
my
character
StarCraft
select screen.
1. This is my StarCraft 1 character portrait. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, wait, hey, look at that. It actually worked when I refreshed.
NWO.
Okay. Yeah, I've survived, everybody. Congratulations to me. All right, first up, here's what we're going to be doing on the side. As you can see, we'll be talking about this character.
Yep.
Baiken.
Let's start the timer over.
That'll be happening shortly.
So.
And then we'll be talking about the ESL and Dreamhack sale. We'll be talking with our guest, Saki Sakura, which is pretty cool. Looking forward to that. We also have a 5-5 matchups that we'll get to. We have a couple of mailbags, but again, let's begin by talking about this character. What's this character's name? Who's this character?
Byron.
Baiken.
Biden made it.
Bacon's
here. Time to bake up with Baiken. She was finally shown. Do you have a video?
I do have a video.
Did you make the video?
I did not make the video. Now my question is though, if I play this video,
I was asking if you made the video.
Are we gonna get DMCA'd if I play this video?
Bet you we will.
Maybe just don't play the sound. Just have the video on there.
Well, last time we did that, we still got flagged. We couldn't monetize, right?
I don't
even just the video.
I'm pretty sure the last time we did that, we had the same discussion, and James said, "Well, the last time we did that, we didn't play the audio, and they still got us."
All right, sorry everybody, but. If you're watching this on YouTube, this next portion isn't in there. But for the live stream, guess what? Let's talk about Baiken by starting out looking at her video.
I mean, I gotta imagine like everybody else is always like, oh, but it might not be a YouTube thing, right? So, all right, let's do this. Let's do this.
Yeah, it is. Well, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right.
Ooh. Oh, Unreal Engine? Cool. I love Unreal Engine.
I don't even know what it is.
I've played Unreal since 1900.
I think that, I mean, obviously in the preview, the other trailer, they showed this all in color. Although this effect is really neat that they did at the beginning here.
Very cool. I agree.
Yeah, it's a dope trailer.
Next character update. I already know who it is, guys. You just showed it to me. Okay, here she is. Baiken.
There she is.
I'll turn the volume down a little bit here so they can hear us a little more.
There's no winning or losing, just knowing yourself. Right.
How dare you?
It's
How dare
really
you do
interesting
that?
too, by the way. This is the first time Baiken has ever had an English voice. So it sounds, it's really interesting hearing her speak English. I've never heard
I
that
think her
before.
English voice is really good.
Yeah, it is really good. I like
I
it.
thought it was really good. I don't use English voices in this game. I said I was going to, like, just out of spite. And then I forgot and I got used to Japanese voices, so I won't ever hear it. But yeah, I do think it's a good voice. I think it's
for sure.
Dude, but I mean, obviously, there's a lot of really interesting things happening in here, and of course, Baiken, a very different character. I don't know if you want me to go through this footage a little bit, and we can like.
Well,
look
I'm
at
thinking, James, instead of doing that, why don't we just go through the character tutorial that they put out, the
Sure.
primer, because they do all that stuff for us anyways. We don't have to
Exactly.
try to peek through the, you know.
Oh
the,
no,
the
people can
trailer.
see our.
Oh no, this is what it looks like behind the scenes.
Behind the
I
scenes
know,
that
right?
you can get on Patreon or something.
Patreon.egg is where we're at. Can you talk a little bit about what this character was like before? Hey everybody, I'm new to fighting games and I've never played Guilty Gear in the past.
Oh, okay.
Hey everyone, I'm new to
What's
Guilty
Baiken
Gear
like?
and I really don't know what she did in the past. Tell me.
So it's funny because a lot of people are like, I'm mad. She lost like half her kit. Welcome to XX to Exerd. Because that's what happened to her before as well. Basically, the most fascinating thing about her was that she was designed as a pure alpha counter character. She was a character who was designed to have alpha counters with no meter cost. She just could do them at any time she wanted to while she was in block stud. She even
pretty unfair.
She also had supers that would like prevent you from jumping or take away a certain button if she hit you from block stun and stuff like that. So if she hit you with like, she could alpha counter into a super and it would hit you, do very little damage, but then all of a sudden you had no access to your heavy slash button. You know, it was like she could do all sorts of crazy things, but
Sure.
they balanced her in a really interesting way. Like most of her alpha counters were kind of slowish. One of them was just like a dash. She would alpha counter dash. The fastest one didn't knock down or anything, and only on counter hit did it actually launch you or anything. And so, you know, they designed her really, really interestingly. Now, what they did when it came to what do you call it? Exerd is they took away the alpha counter ability and gave her a parry. So it was more like Goken's parry, which you had to do it ahead of time. However, you could do it during block stun. So it actually kind of turned more into KI's alpha counter system. So basically, if they did one move and you countered, that wouldn't do anything. But if they were doing two moves, you could do something, activate it, and then parry, but the window was really, really small. Now, what they also did in Exerd, and I think they did this in Plus R as well for XX, was she has just a command dash run that just had armor. She just dashed and had armor, and they let her cancel that command dash into her alpha counter moves so she could gain access to some of those alpha counter moves outside of blocking, so she could actually like combo into it by comboing into the run and doing all that stuff. Well, all of that is out of the window now because she doesn't have any alpha counters at all of any sort anymore. She still has a counter, but it's a preemptive counter and it behaves like, you know, standard counters now.
Yeah, we can maybe show the video now. I just wanted people to have a grounding on what the character was
for
like in the
sure.
past.
Yeah, let's do this. In this behemoth typhoon.
Introducing
Yeah,
Baiken.
I was hoping for another one of those.
Useful special moves.
Oh, dude,
Control
that
the
is a
field
very
from
cool
mid-range
mechanic.
with
Ah,
specials,
yeah, the tether
and
is
overwhelm
the
opponent
coolest
with
shit
a
I've ever
powerful
seen.
mix-up at
The
close
coolest
range.
thing about the tether is that the further you go apart, it
Baiken
actually
slams her foot to the ground,
stretches him
flipping
more.
over a tatami mat.
Yeah, it
But-
makes it like more
The
tense.
grounded version
Somehow
Swing
she
back
finds a
together.
mat. I don't know.
And
It's
launch
weird.
it.
Dude, I
Where's
mean,
that
but this
mat
Cool
come
thing
from?
about the tether is it's like Tager, but actually cool.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah,
We'll have
agreed,
to continue that
agreed.
conversation in a little bit.
Agreed. But I mean, this is actually like, this is like probably her signature move right here, the Tatami Gaish.
on hit.
Like everyone's used to hearing "Tatami guys!" like every time she throws that
In the
out.
air
So.
version, the tatami mat
And
appears
this
as a
is
projectile.
looks like it
As the
behaves
tatami
pretty
mat
much
will
the
not
same as it did
disappear until it
before.
touches the
I'm
ground.
curious to see how it's
It is a
gonna
good
if it
option on the
changes
opponent's
much, but it
wake-up
seems
or to
pretty
prevent their
standard.
approach.
And then also,
Dang, you can do it as a meaty too. That's pretty sick.
yeah,
Kabaddi.
yeah, she's had
This
lots of
attack
good
draws
meaty
the opponent
setups on
in
that.
towards
Now,
Baiken.
this is the interesting thing. So in previous games, this was just a giant claw that she would throw out at you. It doesn't look like a claw
excellent range
anymore.
makes it a good
I don't even know
poke from
what it
mid-range.
is, but this never happened before. The tethering
slash
on the slash one never happened
Version
before.
attaches the opponent to Baiken on block.
Yeah, you
or
see, she's
hit.
trying to walk backwards, but she's in
Once
fact
attached,
tethered by
Yeah,
rope.
That's,
Characters
Yeah.
yeah,
can be
that's, you
drawn
can't go
together.
any further.
The force drawing
Look at
them
that. That's so
together
sick, dude. I
enables
love
more
that she
calm.
bounces
the
back when
farther
it's
they are.
when it like
And-
reaches maximum tension, she bounces
Right.
back. So cool.
And the fact that the farther it stretches, the more like momentum it adds.
apart. The attachment will be released after a certain period of time.
This is so sick.
It is very
Successful
cool.
ground throw
It is very
also
cool.
attaches the
But what's interesting is that ground throw does this now. So the forward ground throw was always famous for ground throw into meaty instant air dash to Tommy mat. And now
Opponent
that's
to
not
Baiken.
going to happen here because she
The
gets this.
attachment will be released after a certain
Well, who
period
needs it?
of
She
time.
tethers them up.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
A
So now she
successful
throws
ground
them
throw also
and they're
attaches-
just tethered. She might even just be able to jump into Tommy mat right there and not have to air dash
Opponent to Baiken.
anymore. So
Pressing heavy
I'm
slash
wondering if the
again
opponent
after
can
the claw
like
extends.
purposely screw her up too and make her momentum go a
Yeah,
different way
exactly.
because they dash backwards and
Yeah, dude. Like, can you
Tighten the rope.
like
Down
RC
heavy
dash in some
slash.
funky way to like screw her
Pressing heavy
positioning
slash
off? I don't know.
again.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
There's
there's
a lot
gotta
of
be
interesting
games
stuff, I'm
like
sure.
that.
during the
Yeah.
heavy slash version.
Like it's so.
oh, see, there you go. The heavy slash is still
Yeah,
the
the heavy
claw.
slash is still a claw.
Got it. Okay.
Follow-up attack.
Yeah, but it doesn't have
Holding down heavy
the
slash
tether after.
allows
Right.
you to delay the
It's just
timing
it
of the
behaves
attack.
probably more
But
like
and it
did
can
before.
cross up
Pass
too,
through
right?
the
This is her
opponent
cross up attack, right?
during this move.
Right.
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
yeah. She's got a bunch of different follow-ups.
Yozansen.
So this is interesting. They decided to ease this up a little bit. This used to be a DP motion. And so getting Tiger Knee Yozansen was like doing axle bombers. But now they've just made it quarter circle forward,
Baiken
so it's going to be
slashes the
much
area
easier
around
to
her
Tiger
with this
Knee.
overhead attack.
Good.
Yeah, I'm
Fast
on
startup
board with that.
makes it easy to use in mid-air combos. It can also mix up a crouch blocking opponent.
Yeah, it looks like
when
it's a really
used
fast
immediately
attack, too.
after
Yeah, it's
jumping.
overhead as well,
Yeah.
by the way.
Get
Yeah,
Ukio vibes.
Yeah, that overhead right there was always one of her main ways of opening people up. Now, before, I mean, she would always need to have at least a meter to
It can also
RC
mix
it.
up a crouch
So I think
blocking
it's the
opponent
same here,
when
right?
used
Yeah,
immediately
RC
after
just
jumping.
like that. Because you're doing it on the
Buyout.
way up, so she doesn't
A
fall like
counterattack
the other
that reacts to
version.
an attack from the
Now, this is obviously the makeup for her losing all of her alpha counters and stuff, is she now
Baiken
has a
can counter an
parry.
attack once this move is out. She
I mean, it does a
performs
lot of
highly
damage, honestly,
damaging
that it
attacks.
does right there.
Yeah,
Countering
it's like
an
wild
There's
throw.
probably
I
an
wonder how
RC
fast
point
it
on
is too.
Yeah, is it one frame? Like, at what point can you RC and get into other stuff? Like, there's other questions, I'm sure.
Yeah, the question really is right now to me though is this a parry
retell
everything or is there like does it lose the lows?
Projectiles? No, it loses the projectiles. They say in the video.
Right. They show that here, but I'm thinking like lows, jump attacks, etc. You know.
I see.
Opponent's
Yeah,
attack
yeah.
After countering from a distance.
Yeah, it loses the throws as well. They do show that
Use
as well.
this move with caution, as it cannot counter throws or projectiles.
Yep, it
and
loses
leaves
to that.
Baiken vulnerable
Right.
on whiff.
Oh, useless.
Tsurane Sanzu Watashi.
This is her
Baiken
standard
moves
super. She's
forward
always
while
had a
unleashing
3-hit
three
super like
powerful
this.
slashes.
Okay.
Its fast startup and invincibility
Pretty cool.
as it comes out.
Did a lot of damage. Holy crap.
Sanzu Watashi.
Yeah, I mean, most raw supers
Baiken
do.
moves
Yeah,
forward while
definitely.
unleashing
And that's like
three
at the start of the
powerful
life bar too. You're not really into the
Its
guts
fast
yet.
This
startup
Potemkin
and
player over here
invincibility
getting
as it comes
mad about that damage.
Yeah, that's
Meanwhile,
Keep
one
it in-
pot buster.
Keep in mind, Anji does have one of the highest guts. Okay,
out,
so
makes it a good choice for combos. As
and
well
so that's
as
still
way
a lot
to
of
keep
damage
up
for a
with
character
opponent's
with some of the
strength.
highest guts in the game.
Kenju. Baiken launches a massive firework shell as a
This is
powerful
interesting. She's
projectile.
never
Gave her
had
a
this
gun.
before. So in the last game, she did gain a cannon that she could do this. So one of her moves that she could do was just to fire a cannonball at you. So they just turned it into a super now at this point.
Well, it's pretty cool. I like the little shower of projectiles afterward. Nice looking.
This attack works well.
Particle
both
effects.
From far range
It's definitely
or
particle
as a
effects.
finisher in a combo. The air version changes the projectile's trajectory to a downward diagonal
Yeah, it's got a good angle on it from the sky. You're definitely going to get caught by that if you're trying to anti-air her. For
What's
sure.
her deal in the lore?
What do you mean?
Is she a time traveling samurai? Like, what's the deal here?
Not really sure, to be honest with you. I know like she and Anji have some sort of history, and I think she was like the boss in Guilty Gear 1 or Guilty Gear
Yeah,
X.
she was I thought she was a secret boss in one of the first Guilty
something
Gears.
like that. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what her lore is. To be honest.
I know a little bit about the lore because one of my buddies talked to me about the lore because she is a cool character from a disability representation perspective. So she was, I guess she got injured when Japan was destroyed, right? So Japan is destroyed in this universe, I guess.
Yes.
Right, there's not very many Japanese people left in
Right,
the
okay.
world in the story.
She lost her arm and she lost her eye. But like in the story, she's not characterized as like needing to like overcome her disability. Like her disability is not like it's terrible or it's gross or anything like that, as can often be portrayed, which is pretty cool. And at the same time, obviously, she's still mega hot and kicks ass. So it's not like the common way that people are with disabilities are portrayed, which is cool.
Right. Okay, so I see. So Gears killed her family. Now she's pissed. I mean, one of the interesting things, one of my favorite things of like, I'm going to go back to the cameras here. One of my favorite things about her lore is that with Johnny in Exerd, he had finally gained a way to replenish his coins through one of his supers, that if he hit you, he actually stole items from you.
I thought you were going in the lore. I was like, wait a minute. He needs to replenish his coins in lore? I was so confused for a second.
Well, so the thing is, so he'll steal items, but the items aren't actual coins. He steals items from characters. So, like, if he hits Sin, he gets a chunk of meat, right? Because, basically, and then if he does it to himself in a mirror match, he steals porno magazines, basically, from the other Johnny. When he does this to Baiken...
to steal from yourself, but all right.
When he actually does this to Baiken, because she's a samurai and samurais, so he's supposed to steal what's like near and dear to your heart. And so when he does this to Baiken, who's a samurai, he actually steals the kanji for the word nothing. So because she's a samurai, so she has to not hold anything near and dear to her heart. So.
All right.
That's not a rule. Okay.
But I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Never mind then.
Cool, man.
David is just like, whatever, dude. Whatever.
No, there's a lot of cool decisions like that in this series for sure. So there you go. There's a look at Baiken. Now, again, I think that for me the standout thing is definitely the tether. I really like that idea. You guys brought up Iron Tiger, but and I think it's like a clear, like obviously we get why. There are these things that are like sort of moving the two characters together in a way that is unusual, which is cool. And what I like about Tager is that it's like grappler needs to get in. He brings you to him instead. I don't really feel like that in this case. Like it's not like she has Spark Bolt that works from full screen. She's already got to be in kind of like a mid-rangey position to find this in the first place. And then it's also different in the sense that for Tager, there were certainly ways where opponents could screw with him when he had them magnetized. Like opponents can like whiff punish him in some different ways when he drags them in where they wouldn't have been able to otherwise. Like, so there is a little bit of counterplay, but this seems to me like it has potential, at least we don't know how it works, potential for more counterplay as the person who has the tether on you. It would be very cool. We don't know, but it would be very cool if as the defender, you could like move around in ways that would screw with where the opponent.
Yeah, I imagine. I don't see how they would. I shouldn't say how. I don't see why they would create the tether in the way that it is. If the opponent can't also manipulate like tensileness, like how stretched
Right.
out everything is, and make her do weird things. You know, I feel like it has to go both ways. It's just more fun that way,
I
you know.
think-
Yeah,
and then
would be
it
cool.
feels like a 2-player interaction rather than just, well, I got you now, buddy. You know.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
feels-
No, I hope it is like that.
It feels a lot to me like Faust's black hole in Exerd. Whenever he got the black hole out and it always sucked people in, you could extend your combos that way, you know, kind of like a space gem kind of thing from MVCI. So I'm curious to see how it works. I hope people can mess her up. Like, what if you double jump? And does that drag her up into the air or something? Or does she drag you back down? I don't know. Like, there was definitely be really kind of interesting. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. But, I mean, she's obviously very different. And I know in Exerd, I think they were scared to turn her into an alpha counter character because they were afraid of, like, alpha counter into YRC. Right? Can you imagine just, like, starting an alpha counter and then YRC and then doing whatever you want? Right? So, you know, I always felt like they could have just brought it back, but like made it so that you couldn't RC.
Yeah.
You know, her alpha counter, like DPs, when you try to RC, you see the big X on you if it whiffs and such. You know, I had always thought about doing that way, and I mean, that's the whole reason why I played Baiken, because I couldn't fight Eddie / Zato at all in those games, and so I just picked the alpha counter character to get the hell out of there. And, you know, it's curious. Like, obviously, 2 games in a row, they keep trying to reinvent Baiken in a different way, and they're not going back to the alpha counter route. Now, I know everyone who didn't play Baiken in the XX series hates her with a passion because of this mechanic. I don't know, like, I'm just wondering if they probably could find a way to make it work, but I just don't know if it would be accepted. I mean, last week we talked about how everyone hates grapplers and zoners to the point where, like, they're removing zoning from so many fighting games. Like, can they even put Baiken classic style in a game, you think, and have people accept it anymore? Like, I think, like, if they want to try to make it as widely appealing to everybody as possible, you make a character like that and it's just going to piss off a lot of people.
I don't know. What do you think, Rock?
I think it's less can they and more why would they. Doesn't sound like anybody enjoyed it. Doesn't sound like it's a good time. Why would you you're not revising history if you put it out in a new game and make it work. So why bother?
Had a good
Something
time
fun.
with Baiken.
You and like the 3 other people that played her ever in that game. So
She was pretty popular, right? I feel like I heard a lot
no,
about
I just
Baiken
mean
back in
like
the day.
you know it was a long time ago. There wasn't.
Well,
as
I mean,
many
she-
FCs.
Oh, sure.
She definitely has a Mika syndrome, although not as obscure as Mika.
Yeah, right.
You know, when Exerd came out and they definitely upplayed her sexiness, like I said, she's always had big boobs. Like, that's just the way that she's always been. It's just in the sprites, it just wasn't as obvious back in, like, the XX days. I'm just talking about it matter-of-factly here. It's just,
I know
it's just the way it is.
Just,
But, like,
yeah.
but,
Put it out
like,
there.
she was always, like, like David was saying, the person saying, she was always still very kind of, like, attractive and stuff. But, like, when Exerd kind of emphasized that a little bit more, I feel like that generated a lot more long-time Baiken fans. Kind of like when Mika was announced for Street Fighter V, all of a sudden there was all these long-time Mika fans out of nowhere. That's the meme right now, is that everybody's like, oh, I mean, when she was announced at Exerd, everyone's like, I love Baiken. And so now everyone makes fun of the fact that all the long-time Baiken mains who have never played her before is like the
Listen, man.
thing.
I knew she was coming for DLC, like that's a given, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when she came out, I was like, oh, her character model looks cool. And then I watched her trailer, and I was like, oh shit, she looks really cool. And then I watched the character guide, and I was like, oh no, I really want to play her. And now I just feel like a degen. I feel like
yeah.
I finally play. Like if you play anime long enough, you're just gonna end up playing a character that's half naked, and now I don't know what to do with myself because I've played fighting games for like 12, 13 years, And this has never happened to me, and now finally, I think I'm gonna really like this character.
Baiken is not even half. She's not even half naked, dude. It's just one particular section. That's all.
I've never been like a degen. I've always played like characters with lots of armor and stuff. I don't know, or like I guess spandex, right? I guess like Wolverine and Deadpool are in spandex. That's pretty.
Yeah, whatever.
You know.
Look,
hey,
I don't think it's the case.
You could have always played the other costume of Wolverine in MVC3, right? I mean,
with the big Weapon X helmet on. Yeah, that's hot.
And
he was he's like 90% naked. Okay.
Yeah.
I actually did play that costume.
Well, there you go, buddy.
Yeah.
So
look, I don't think it's the case
already.
I was degen back then.
Baiken can like not have alpha counters. I don't think that it's the case that there's something about having alpha counters that is more obnoxious or whatever than like many of the other things that people are getting away with in fighting games and have been for a long time. I think it's true that there are fewer games that have zoning, but it's also true that plenty of games still have zoning. And every game has grapplers, and I don't know
and
why.
A lot of games have an alpha counter right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Street Fighter 5 has one.
But they always cost something. They didn't do any damage. Like this game literally was like, hey, if I have meter and I alpha counter you, it doesn't cost me anything. Yeah, and then I can RC into more damage, right?
I guess it's different, but I'm sure that you could make it in a way that is balanced and would probably annoy some people, but would also probably be really, really fun for some other people. Because there are so many wild and crazy character designs out there. I mean, there's never been a time where there are more wild and crazy character designs than like the last decade. Like this is definitely the most wild and crazy time.
Happy chaos, hello.
Comparatively speaking. Yeah. And not just in Gear, but in many other games. Like the last decade is like when the craziest stuff happened. So yeah, I don't see why not. I think it would be cool, but it may also be a case of like what Brock was talking about, where like you could do that. It would work, but also, you know, there's a lot of other fun stuff that maybe people would prefer. Maybe the designers themselves aren't as into it anymore.
Let's see the new stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's
new stuff out.
Because it's one of those dangerous things, right? I mean, again, back to the grappler zoner thing. I know this is something that you've never agreed with, David, but like a lot of people have this philosophy: if you can't make the grappler or the zoner the best character in the game, right? Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of where their philosophy is with Baiken right now. It's like, if we gave her the alpha counters, we can't make her good, so screw it, let's just not do it at all and let's try to do something else, you know.
I think I would be cautious about reading too much into it in that way. I feel like that's reading more into it, and without saying that you're wrong, I just don't really see like a reason to say that is the case. All we know is that they're designing her differently, and it just might be that they want to try new stuff.
Right. And again, I only believe that because 2 games in a row, they've strayed farther and farther away from that original archetype. You know, it's just like, I had pondered if they were going to try to go back to it, and then they went even further away. They didn't even give her the parry that she had in the previous game, you know?
I mean, characters in this game aren't coming out with as many moves in general as in the past games. So, I mean, obviously there's a design philosophy that is a little different than in the past. But I don't think that means that they are making the characters like less wild. You know what I mean? There's plenty of wild stuff. So.
Yeah. I mean, look, anyway, if Johnny shows up in the game, I'm actually looking forward to them getting rid of the mist mechanic completely, because it's never worked. It has literally never worked the way I think they wanted it to work. So,
look, all right, there's a little bit about Baiken. Let's talk about the other thing that they announced for Guilty Gear Strive. This is, of course, a combo maker, a /set play maker that you can actually share with other people in the game. So you can go in there, you can make your own combo, you know, you're deciding which moves are in there. You can do the same thing with set play. And I thought it was very interesting that in the video, I feel like this is something that with other games would come out and we'd be like, oh, you can use it for set play too. But in the video, the official Arxis video, they use the word set play, and they make it very clear that like this is part of it, is that this is not just about combos, but also like use this to make setups.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So that you can then share it with other people. Other people can search through this like long list of combos. You can put tags on it so that people know what they're searching for. It seems like a really well thought out system. What do you guys think?
I was tweeting about it when they first announced it, and I think it's a super cool feature. And I think it's really, really even cooler that Arxis is using words like set play.
Yeah.
But this isn't like the first time we've seen that with fighting game devs. I mean, they have like dictionaries of lingo and things like that within games, and
Sure.
Yeah.
that's not like wild to me. But I do think it's very cool that they're acknowledging that the competitive scene exists online, and like
Yeah.
is this type of thing will be useful for all levels of players. You know, I think that them like using that language like in the forefront really gives like a good vibe to the competitive scene. I think it's a good look.
They're of course designing the game with set play in mind. Like it's not like this is the first time that they're acknowledging
Yeah,
that set play exists. Like obviously that's the game design. But yeah, the fact that they are giving that name to it and putting it out there as this is a way to use it, I think says a lot about how they're trying to make this more accessible to people. Yeah, and I think this is a great way to do it.
But by the way, they're not charging for this either, so
You can just do it. Yeah, that's right.
Update. Yeah,
yeah.
update.
But
It's a
I
free
mean,
update.
I think that this is excellent for teachers out there, for a lot of the
sure.
people that try
Yeah,
to
for
do
sure.
teaching. And if you want to teach someone, like, you could be like, here, learn this combo, learn this combo, learn this combo, instead of going into the trial modes for half of these games where they make you do really, really obtuse things that you'll never actually use in a real battle kind of thing. You know, it seems like it's gonna be really, really useful for that. And I think it'll just be fun too, because like a Mario Maker thing, I bet you a lot of people are gonna be like, you know, hey, let's try these hard combos. Only 10% have completed this combo. Let me do it. You know, it'll make for good content.
It will-
I was gonna say I'm just really hoping that top players and top scientists really get into this and use it and upload their stuff, because if those people don't, then the feature will be kind of useless.
Somebody else
So
has got to do it.
I
in
hope
that
that
case.
people use it.
Like say that you're the world's top scientist in Guilty Gear,
Sure.
and you're not doing this. Somebody else just do it instead, and somebody probably will. So I agree with James. I think that there's a Mario Maker like aspect to this. I think there are going to be people who will play Gear to do combos and to be like, all right, hey, what's the new combo? Maybe they're not somebody who wants to play super competitively. They just enjoy doing combos. That person will for sure exist, and somebody will be making content about it. And
you know what?
I think it's great.
Everyone's
Maybe some
gonna-
of those people start playing competitively too.
Some of the new content that's going to be created is called block this mix up.
Yeah.
I think. Well, see, that's a good question. Actually, now that I think about it, can you program the training dummy to do stuff so that you have to defend against it? Now that I think about it,
Yeah, I mean,
because that would be sick if that's the case. Because then, yeah, you literally could do a block this mix up mini game.
well, I'm assuming you download the
Right.
recording, right? And it's like a challenge to do this thing.
Right.
Once you do it, you can just record it yourself and then block it yourself.
That's true too. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean,
I
you
love
won't
it.
get the
Great idea.
you won't get the surprise factor. Is all I'm saying. So.
Right. As in you're saying like the very
Well,
first
the
time that
inputs
you
are going to be
download
on
it.
screen anyways,
Yeah.
right? Like you're going to know.
I think that it's a cool idea that James is talking about, but I don't think that it's going to work like that. either.
I hope that there's like a feature to do that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it does sound cool for sure. All right. Well, cool news in Guilty Gear land.
Yes, let's move over to the next topic here. This is something that I only just heard about from David, like literally just like a couple of hours ago. So, what is? I didn't hear about this. What's the gist of
Well,
this?
it only happened yesterday. Sure. So ESL and FACIT have been sold to a group called Savvy Gaming Group for $1.5 billion.
I mean, considering how
Man,
much.
That's nothing. Microsoft just dropped
Right, exactly.
$9 billion, dog. Get at us.
Yeah, our scaling is just so out of whack now.
Yeah, it really
It's
is
not
at this
$70 billion. What no big deal. That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. $1.5 billion. And ESL, the group that owned ESL, MTG, also bought Dreamhack. And it was announced last year at
Not
some
Magic
point.
the Gathering, by the way.
Correct. Yeah, it stands for, I wrote it down, Modern Times Group.
Sure.
They also bought Dreamhack. And it was announced last year that Dreamhack and ESL were kind of like rolled into one another. So that when Dreamhack puts on events and stuff. People with ESL are involved, and ESL is involved in DreamHack. Yada yada. So essentially, this is not just ESL being sold, it's ESL and DreamHack, which is why we put it up here. If you're more familiar with that side of thing. So who bought them? Savvy Gaming Group is backed by the Saudi Arabian government's Public Investment Fund. Now, a lot of governments have public investment funds, but the one for Saudi is known for being very not transparent and for being probably pretty corrupt. And, people in some cases are kind of guessing about that stuff because it's just not really known, like what the deal is with some of what they are doing. It's really hard to get an insight into that. I try to do a little bit of research to try to learn more about it, and it's just a lot of it is just like, well, they're doing stuff and there's a lot of money involved, but I don't really know. So.
I mean, does this have anything to do with the same group that is or wants to be a major owner in SNK?
Well, I mean, this is not the actual same group, if that's what your question is, but it from another perspective, Saudi Arabia
is the same group.
I mean, maybe because the Saudi Arabian monarchy is like obviously in control of the country, and so this is the Public Investment Fund, which is maybe nominally separate from like what the Crown Prince is doing with his money, but also maybe in another perspective is not that separate. So it just depends on, I guess, how you want to view it. There was also a big blow up last year when Riot signed a deal with the Saudi government to advertise the city that they're building in the middle of the desert. And that city had been built in part in areas that had been like cleansed of its local residents and other associated things that have been going on there. So there was a lot of backlash, and eventually Riot said, "Okay, we're not going to do that. We're backing out of this deal." So that's a little bit of history on the sort of Saudi side. But then the ESL and FACIT, if you don't know what FACIT is, it's a kind of like ESL. It also does events and it does broadcasts and that kind of stuff for CS:GO. There's just a lot of consolidation going on, and it's certainly like the same kind of phenomenon as Microsoft buying a million studios out there, including
consolidation.
Activision Blizzard.
Is such a nice way to put it. That's such a
media
group way of putting it, David.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. What do you think about it?
There's just a whole lot of monopolies starting right now, is what David is saying. There's a whole bunch of them, and they're happening all at the same time, and it's kind of terrifying.
I mean, yeah. I guess have there been a lot of people who have been reacting the same way, like similarly to the SNK syndrome, where it's just like, well, now I'm not backing this at all. Like, I have no support over DreamHack. I no longer, support ESL, or I'm gonna delete my FACIT account or whatever.
I haven't seen too much of that myself.
Yeah, same. I'm not as plugged into the CS scene for sure, but I do follow some people there, and I haven't seen them talking about it. I saw one person I follow who's a reporter in esports was like, "You guys got to hear what Monte Carlo and Richard Lewis and Thorne are saying about the ESL deal." And I was like,
God,
any of those
big
people
negative.
Say about anything.
Yeah, did not tune into that broadcast.
Yeah, no.
But other than that, no, I don't really know what they're saying. I do. The only thing that I've seen, I guess, is that I did see a tweet from a prominent Dota commentator who was basically ragging on this, and then that tweet was deleted not too long thereafter.
Oh no!
That's he still wants to be a prominent Dota commentator.
Right.
Probably, yeah. Oh, jeez. So
yeah, I mean, look, in some ways, like we have it relatively easy in the FGC, in the sense that we have relatively few sort of business conglomerates that are out there selling big things like this. But there is an FGC component to this, which is that, of course, ESL has done a bunch of fighting game content.
Dreamhack.
Time was, James and I were going to ESL almost every week to do content with them, right? On King of the Hill.
King of the Hill, man.
It was a lot of fun, and it was close by. It was really great for us. And, of course, Dreamhack, which has been running fighting game tournaments for years now. Alex Bailey is the head TO there. Like, there's definitely a fighting game component to this too. So, I mean, the question is not just what are Counter-Strike and other scenes going to do about this, but when Dreamhack next summer or whatever, they announced that they're not going to be doing Dreamhack Anaheim already, which would have been in February. But whenever the next fighting game of the event they do, possible that they could ask all three of us to come commentate. You know, I mean, this is a question for us as well, and not just for other esports. Like, what do you do about Saudi-backed Savvy Gaming Group owning these events? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think ESL, hit me up, baby. Slide in my DMs. I'm trying to get paid. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you know, from a serious standpoint, I mean, yeah, there is a lot of that, right? I mean, it's hard for me to, it really hard for me to just be like, you know what, I can't do this because of ethics or whatever, because, you know, we are in that situation where we are kind of, we need the work, you know?
There's no ethical consumption under capitalism anyways, James.
That is actually true.
There's no ethical consumption under
It's true.
capitalism.
That's right. But you
but
can also
eating
make
is
it worse on
paid.
yourself, even. Right?
But
Like,
eating is nice. Let's just put it that way. You know, food is
that's what I'm
good.
saying. Like we have to participate anyways, man. Like
sure.
obviously pick your battles. Like I'm
Right.
not gonna buy KOF 15, even though I like to support every fighting game. I'm still pissed off about Sam Show. You know, like I won't play. Well, maybe I'll play Activision Blizzard games in the future, but up till now, up until their new ownership, essentially, which holy crap, why am I praising Microsoft for anything?
Yeah, weird feeling.
But you know, like maybe I'll play. But for a long time and still today, I won't play anything by Activision Blizzard. Like pick your battles, but
Yeah.
also don't feel bad if you're getting paid, man. Like
Yeah.
everything sucks. We'll make it suck a little bit less.
Right. That's the hard part. And honestly, you know, I don't like, Jabali is obviously legit cool dude who really cares about fighting game communities, you know? And if he's sitting here trying to run the best fighting game event at Dreamhack for fighting game players, like, am I gonna hurt him by like not going? And that's not fair, right? Like, I mean, that there's always that kind of thought process as well. You know, so like if he's trying to run a great event, then, you know, I'd love to support him. He's not, you know, gonna sit here and just like move to Saudi Arabia all of a sudden, you know, kind of thing. So we'll see. But yeah.
My opinion is that I think in this case, look, I do not want it to be the case that I would boycott anything that has Saudi origin. I've met some really cool people who are from there, and it's, you know, there, of course, they have a government that I think does a lot of bad stuff. I also live in a country where I think the government does a lot of bad stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't feel like I have a
Glass houses or
tremendously.
something, whatever.
Yeah.
It all comes back to Tekken Master's comment of, why don't you move to the U.S. to get more exposure in esports? And he's like, U.S. sounds too dangerous, you know, Tekken Master from
too dangerous.
Bahrain.
Yeah. So I don't feel like I have a great position. Now, I also like don't think that we're as bad as the Saudis. So I mean, the Saudi royal family. Like I think there's a little different. But the point is just that I'm not going to boycott something only because it's associated with people in Saudi Arabia. And when it comes to something like the city that was supposed to be the focus of the ad campaign for Riot, that's a very specific instance of this city being very specifically like built where people used to live, and they were like kicked out of that area. Like there's like a much more sort of concrete background there. In the case of just like a country's private investment fund, I guess I don't really feel the same way. And I don't have a great barrier here. I don't have a great sort of demarcation, I guess, between like what I think is okay and not. Because like, yeah, it's really hard to make those decisions. But if, you know, if DreamHack asks me to commentate, I still might. Yeah.
I mean, like, the tough one, for example, like Tubo mentioned, like King of Fighters 15, right? Like, this is a tough one, but, you know, the guy who's working on the game, the director, same guy who was working on it when he was doing 14 and everything. It's the same developers. They're just making a game that they love and trying to keep KOF fans happy. Like, it's just weird. Like, I want to support them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Understandable, yeah.
And it's such a weird, it's like, it's again, it comes back down to the good place again, right? Like I can't eat, if I eat a certain chicken sandwich, it means I hate gay people, right?
Damn almond milk.
Almond milk is a great example one. I drink almond milk right now, and now I'm like,
Oh, I mean, I was actually quoting.
Yeah.
From The Good Place. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, literally, I'm in that same thing because I'm drinking almond milk right now, and it's like, shoot.
You got to make your own choices for sure.
You got to raise your own cow and drink it only straight from the udder, James. That's the only ethical way. And you have to capture all the cow's farts in a filter so that the methane gas doesn't, the UV rays and the fracking.
I mean, 16-bit. I only go to Chick-fil-A every once in a while because, damn it, their mac and cheese is actually pretty good.
Man, I lived across the street from a Chick-fil-A for 4 years. Also across the street from an In-N-Out.
Right.
And I went to neither of them ever.
I mean, I go to Chick-fil-A as little as
I did get
possible.
fries from the In-N-Out actually one time.
At one point in time, I didn't go there at all. But I mean, it's not even the case anymore, though. Before, I started going every once in a while because fast food was the cheapest thing out there. But that's not even the case anymore. Fast food is just wildly expensive at this point. So...
Well, all right. There's a little conversation about this topic. We'll probably find out more about it in the future. I don't know. I haven't heard anything, at least, about like specifics, what's happening with ESL and DreamHack, etc. But
right.
We'll keep
All
an eye on
right.
that.
Let's bring on Saki.
All right, so we're going to go to a break real quick, and when we come back, let's bring on Saki Sakura TV to the stream. Don't go anywhere, guys. Be right back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Tuesday show. We're going to be moving on to our interview as David dances a little jig over there.
That's me. I'm known for dancing. Everybody says.
They called him in college David the Jig Dancer.
The good old David the Dancer. That's right, everybody.
All right, so let's go move on to the interview. And for today, we are bringing on Saki Sakura. So let's get her onto the stream over here. And boom, there we go. Hello.
Hello.
Made it happen. Thanks a lot for joining us.
No, thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited. I'm going to be honest. I did not know this show existed until like literally the beginning of the year when I got like nominated, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know this.
So we had to give you an award for you to know we exist. That's messed up.
Nice.
I promise.
Get off this. I'm offended.
I promise it was not on purpose. I'm still new to a couple of things, especially like since I've been branching out.
Commentator Cup.
Dude,
I was.
And not only that, but can't you see?
Yeah.
We have 200 viewers every week, man.
Yeah, we are very famous.
Everybody in the internet knows us.
Yeah,
clearly.
Big times. All right. Well, yeah.
I
Thanks a lot for coming on.
apologize in advance.
No, come on. It's all good. Let's just start a little bit by going back way. It sounds like deep into the past, and when you got into the FGC in the first place. How did you get into competitive fighting games?
So believe it or not, I actually did not like fighting games before. I think I played like one Dead or Alive on the 3DS, and I was like, nah, never touching this.
3DS had a...
Yeah.
Well, actually, you know what? To be fair, Dead or Alive actually feels like that would be the perfect franchise for the 3DS. But in any case...
And I was like, okay, I'm not really, but this was also when I was like super young, right? Like, when I was still in middle school. And then I took like a huge break from gaming, and then I joined like esports for like Dead by Daylight tournaments. And a partner of mine at the time, he was participating in those tournaments. And then that's how I found out about the NRS games. So like Mortal Kombat, Injustice 2. And that's how I basically started. I had Injustice 2, but I didn't really get into it. I only really got it for like Starfire. It wasn't until MK11 where I actually was playing with my partner quite often, where I was actually starting to say, okay, this seems like a game that I can be good at. I'm understanding what I'm doing. I want to learn more. I was also in my 3rd or 4th year of content creation. So I came from like a really strong like Japanese RPG and like visual novels approach. And then when I found like fighting games, that's when I was like, okay, yeah, I think we can definitely like switch over and start like sort of like a new leaf and go from there. And yeah, another thing too is I remember like walking into a GameStop, I think it was to buy a Pokemon game, and I saw Jade being highlighted in GameStop. And that was really what like pushed me to say, okay, I'm gonna pick up Jade when that game comes out because she looks really awesome. So yeah, that's where I started.
When you say Mortal Kombat, do you mean 11?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Mortal Kombat 11 is actually my first fighting game for reals, as well as first competitive commentating, the whole 9 yards, basically.
So you're like brand new. Okay.
That's awesome.
All right, yeah.
Did you get it when the game first came out? It was about 3 years ago now.
Yep, I got it first day.
Cool.
Dang.
I was part of the group called Babality. When I first got it, I was obviously practicing with my partner at the time, or ex-partner at the time. And when I started getting more confidence in the game, I wanted to find out if there was like more people I could communicate with and actually like figure out, hey, I want to actually get better and stuff. And when I found out about Babality, my partner was like, yeah, there's these group of ladies that are playing. They do exhibitions and they're really awesome. And I immediately joined because I was like, hell yeah, like, let's go. And then that's when I really started getting like the taste of competition, where I was like, I think I really want to take this serious. Yeah.
Yeah, was that so at that point, it sounds like there were other reasons maybe you got into in the first place, but then you stuck around because of the sort of competition. Is that right?
Yeah, so I was originally
what about the competition are you into?
So I was originally going to be content creation, and then I really liked the idea of kind of going into a tournament and actually seeing the results. So one of the biggest things is I'm a huge competitor. Like I'm very competitive, whether it be again in Dead by Daylight or at the time I was playing like Overwatch. And I've always liked the idea of just climbing the ranks. And then when I got into Mortal Kombat, I was like, I can be better than just like your average person. I can actually understand and actually research and actually put in a lot of skill and like actually grow from this. Mm-hmm. So when I first got into like the exhibitions and then into tournaments, I was like, yeah, this feels kind of like home. So I'm definitely really interested in actually staying, trying to get better, and kind of like building my path to, I wouldn't say like professional player because, there's obviously a lot of factors that go into that, but I definitely wanted to see, the path that I could get from being in this side of like the community. And I know one of those paths is becoming that competitive player.
Now, I mean, obviously the path of your FGC career leads you to commentary. There was one question I want to ask, but, I just want to ask, like, how did this end up leading towards commentary, playing competitively? Like, when was the first time you jumped on the mic and found out that this is something that you really wanted to do?
Yeah, so also, hi, Shion. That's my cat. I told you she was going to make an appearance.
I didn't see. I missed the cat.
Too late. You have to watch the archive, James.
Dang it.
She's laying down right now. So, believe it or not, before I got into... So, I took a huge break from gaming, actually. And before I got back into gaming, I was actually a sports broadcaster. So I was actually on a sports radio show weekly. I was also working on reviews and articles for like my local teams, college teams as well. So that feeling of always wanting to be on the mic was there because I also grew up with my dad listening to sports radio. And I always told him, one day you're going to see me on there for sure. And then... Yeah.
I mean, that answer is my follow-up question to James. I was going to ask how you got so damn good so damn fast.
Yeah.
Now I get it. Never mind. I understand. All right.
Yeah. So like I grew up like watching and listening to Dan Levitard, because that's the hottest show
Okay.
down here in Miami. When the Mike and Mike show, I think it was, when they were still running. So I've always wanted to be behind that mic, never really more in front of the camera. And that's just because of like different reasons, like mental health reasons and self-esteem reasons and stuff. But I always knew that like one thing that I'm really good at is carrying my voice. So when I started actually in 2018 and actually being a part of esports, I started actually working behind tournaments. And one of the first tournaments was Dead by Daylight. And I actually had a really awesome mentor at that time, Admired Plague. He actually would talk to me about like the different casting roles he would do. So I not only was I able to actually see from him actually commentating and casting all of our Dead by Daylight tournaments, but I also got to see him grow as well. And when the opportunity came within Babality to actually be a part of the commentary, as a guest commentator, I was like, this is it. Like, I want to get practice in. I want to start actually getting my voice out. And that honestly led to just the whole like online events. Let me start putting in my calendar. Let me start setting time aside. Let me start planning my streams and actually going on and fully planning to be part of these broadcasts at some level. And most of the time was commentary.
Nice.
I don't know of anybody else who's made that same transition. I do know some people who have done sports commentary and then whether it's like hosting a radio show or just doing live stuff, play by play and so forth, who want to do esports commentary. I don't know of anybody who's actually made that happen. So I'm very curious how you find the similarities or differences between sports and fighting games when it comes to being on the mic.
So I think the biggest key thing about just that transition is sort of that feeling of relatability. So what I mean is with sports, I've only been really able to be part of the sidelines. So a lot of the times, like, yeah, I'll know the game, but I wouldn't be really like a player or someone that's been like, the few experience that I had like playing basketball and softball when I was younger, that's all I have. That's the only experience that I actually am familiar with. And so when I transitioned to actual esports and started seeing what's like available to me, it's just the fact that I'm already inside and I'm already understanding of what either the game is or what type of format it is, because I've either played it or I've been able to experience it on a personal level. So being able to transition, it was actually a lot smoother because I've been able to be part of that. Another thing too, believe it or not, actually comes with being a woman. So I actually would be, I wouldn't get as many opportunities as I would have expected or hoped under the sports sports broadcasting. That it's a lot. It's like a really hard glass ceiling to shatter, to be honest. So when I'm coming over to fighting games, don't get me wrong, it's still filled with like, hurdles and obstacles, but being able to actually get the opportunities to prove my actual skill, I take that over the sports broadcasting any day, to be honest.
No, I mean, it's interesting because, you were talking about, being, you have this kind of knack for being relatable when you do the commentary and everything like that. One of the things that I feel like sometimes veteran commentators make a mistake of is that they talk about things as if like everybody knows, but you get a lot of new players out there. Do you feel like your freshness into the FGC, your kind of new perspective, having just learned Mortal Kombat in the last 3 years and such, does that help your commentary in a different way?
It does. I think what really is like probably just the only frustrating part about it all is just not being able to get the opportunities. And that's not even fault of like the community or like the opportunity itself. It's just we're in the middle of a pandemic and I came new and fresh literally at like the wrong time, to be honest. Because if we had, I feel like a normal season with MK11 or a normal cycle, it I feel like it would have definitely been a different story as far as like my rise to commentary. I feel like if it wasn't so like for me, transitioning from MK11 to like anime games like Guilty Gear Strive and Melty Blood, it was very scary because it felt like, okay, if I go to these games, I'm brand new again, one. And two, they're completely different games, completely different level of kind of casting because the games are going at such a different pace. So it's like, I'm back kind of like to square one. And that was one of the scary things about just like moving to those type of games and just feeling like, darn, I'm kind of starting all over again. And so I feel like if we had like that normal cycle, I wouldn't have been able to transition properly to those other games, but I would have kept flourishing inside like the NRS cycle itself, just with, you know, practice and actually, you know, involvement in more of the community and whatnot. But there's always like a positive to it. So my commentary's gotten better from moving to different games and actually even my fighting knowledge too. So
that definitely makes sense. I'll be honest, my perspective is kind of the opposite about the pandemic. I've seen more changes in commentary over the last 2 years than in the previous 5, 6, 7, like
absolutely.
a lot. Yeah,
I agree.
So I think that, I mean, look, like for NRS commentary before, the way that it worked basically was like a small subset of people, not half a dozen, 4 or 5, got chosen to be able to do pro competition tournament commentary. And that was the case then throughout like the season. It was really hard to break into that. And like almost nobody did. I like just a couple of examples of people who did. So the fact that that stuff didn't really happen in the same way, I think is a really big moment for people who were on the come up. So I'm really glad for you that you were in like at that time. I think that was like in some ways, obviously it's like really bad news. Yeah, but like in this other way, in this like very specific context, it actually maybe was good timing. And I'm really glad that you got there because I think that you're great.
Thank you so much. That actually really means a lot. I've heard like I wouldn't say like the legends because that sounds like too like admiring, I guess, but I've heard so much about like not just like from your names, right, but also from like Aquaman and Destroyer and Big D and Ketchup and Mustard and like all of these commentator names. And believe me, I'm a huge nerd for like researching my stuff. So like I'm very much in a mindset of, okay, so what makes them good and what can I bring to the table that is at that level? And that's one of the things that when I get asked a lot about, like, Saki, how have you gotten better like with commentary? Because it's a skill. At the end of the day, you could be born with the talent, or you could be like me where like I literally grew up with thinking about the talent. But you're never gonna be able to grow properly if you're not actually learning and moving with that skill. So that's one of the things that I try to do. Like, for example, this weekend for Melty Blood and Frosties, right? I know the game, but I don't know some of the commentators. So I'm trying to do my homework and actually figure out, okay, if their chemistry is this way, what's going to be my chemistry?
Nice.
Matchup.
The matchup theory.
Yeah, pretty
so
much.
David calls the matchup. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Yeah.
And to be fair, as David has said many times, out of all the fighting game commentators, I think there's only one that was born with the talent for commentary, and that's
there's only one natural entertainer. Yeah, it's only Tasty Steve. Everybody else figured it out, but he's the only one born into it, in my opinion.
Yeah, the rest of us are a bunch of nerds trying our best to figure it out.
Yeah, and Tasty Steve is the biggest nerd, maybe, but also maybe just like the best entertainer too.
I mean,
anyway.
Though to be fair, I mean, I grew up. One of the reasons why I do want to do commentary because I grew up listening to a lot of Chick Hearn as well, and you know, as one of the greatest commentators of all time for the Lakers, you know, a long time ago, you know, I used to like fancy myself as a future Laker broadcaster. So,
I do it for the money, the fame.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
For sure. Well, I'm curious. I mean, to talk more about this sports angle. You talked a little bit about some of the sort of maybe differences in the scenes, but specifically when it comes to how you commentate, do you notice any differences between sports and fighting games?
So, I wouldn't say it's the differences. Obviously, of course, there's like multiple literal differences, right? Like you're looking at more detailed stats, right? For example, if you're shoutcasting or even doing commentary on like a football game, you're gonna have the stats of that quarterback or that linebacker or whatever the case may be. Whereas a lot of the times with esports, especially in the fighting game scene, we don't really have access to those resources unless someone actually starts going in and starts taking count of every single statistic inside both game and in tournament. Like that's data that unfortunately is so limited to us.
Dude, I just have to say, I actually on the internet accidentally ran into like a media sheet for a basketball game, and literally it was like it was a PDF. Yeah, and it was like, this is the trend. This is what this player has been doing for the past like 10 games. Here's how he's been going. He's having this slump. Here's this matchup knowledge and like I was like, dude, you don't have to do any work at all as a commentator in professional sports, man.
So like I've written articles, and if you've ever wanted to see like any of my articles for anybody like watching, I used to write for the W2M network. They still have some of my stuff. I also did game reviews and things like that. But one of the things that was so crucial is I had to get access to those media documents because I had to be able to tell like, okay, who was the highlight of the night, who was like really awesome or who didn't really make it to par, who was on the injury list and how that helped the chances and didn't help the chance. Like it is so much statistics that it's crazy. So coming over to the esports side, and even with games like League of Legends and Valorant and stuff, like that's still data that's accessible, but it's just starting to be used more. And again, we're like, you honestly see that more when we have like broadcasting, like major broadcasting companies, like actually putting in the budget for it. You know, when we come down to like the FGC, we're still running on a lot of manual manpower basically. So it's like you can't just do that unless you're really, really passionate and you're like, this is going to be a worthy cause, let's do it. You know, so
we can barely remember what happened earlier in the day. Wait, didn't they face each other? Wait, who won?
Right.
Was that 3-1 or was it 3-0?
That's very true. And even then with that, like one thing that I take a lot, especially, which is one of the reasons why I love commentating offline, like you'll probably see me in Frosty's, like, yeah, I'll be competing, but I'm keeping like, okay, who's that over there that just won like their 3-0 set in a sweep? Or who's that person over there that just like won on stream and like looked really awesome? What character did they play? Like those are things that like I'm trying to get like quick information, but major information so that when I go back on that mic, I'm not just giving them the general like, yeah, they're doing this, this, and this. That's another thing too, is like I wouldn't want anybody to tell me or to like commentate my plays as like, yeah, this is Saki Sakura, plays Jade, doing the standard Jade stuff, right? Like I want them to kind of know a little bit of my story in terms of like why I'm doing something or why am I going, you know, out of my way to risk or take a risk, right? Like I kind of think back about when you guys commentated my Anji. And TuboWare is like, no, let's go. Saki is like, yeah, there's a reason I'm twirling in their faces. Like it's literally my go-to style. So I really, really believe in like players deserve that. They're going through a lot of stress and anxiety during the tournament and training hard. I think part of my job is to make sure we notice that and the audience notices that.
Nice. Yeah.
When it comes to what you would rather commentate, like I feel like there's different styles, different archetypes of commentary. People who prefer telling stories, or people who prefer sort of analyzing, or people who prefer getting hype and having the entertainment style factor of it. It sounds to me like what matters to you most is storytelling, or is there something else?
So there is storytelling, but I also love analyzing. Like I love being able to perfect example, right? Like I've seen full auto play, right? From Mortal Kombat 11, he plays Sindel.
Yeah.
I see this man literally take the most biggest risks, and I'm like, why would you do a hair flip in neutral and be so comfortable with that? And that's just because I've seen his style. So I love being able to explain to the audience, hey, this is why he's doing that. He's not doing that because that's just his, like, that's a button that is his go-to button. He's actually calculating, and this is why he's calculating.
Yeah, I mean, right. I think that they're very closely linked for sure.
Yeah, but again, in a way, that is kind of storytelling, right? Like
It
that,
is.
because like that's kind of where I try to go to a lot of the times. You know, try to tell the story about the players and why they're making those decisions. So I think that's really cool.
Well, cool. So you're going to be doing commentary at Frosty's this weekend, right?
Yes, I am. I'm really excited. It is my first Frosties. So I was actually talking about this the other day to my team, Dynamic Focus, and I was explaining to them why I'm trying to go to these events as they open. I'm definitely afraid of COVID and the pandemic. I work from home, and most of the time I isolate myself quite often. And when I do go outside, I take like every proper precaution. So like you won't see me without a hand sanitizer or a mask. And I'm very like, even when I went to CEO, I was very like, yeah, I'm not going to go to a heavily populated room unless I'm like, I'm good, you know, or I'm feeling 100%. So going to Frosty's is definitely scary, and going to these offline events are very scary. But it's one of those things where like, as we start opening back up and we're seeing like the way the state of the like world is, it's not going to stop turning as much as I want it to stop turning. And I won't be able to survive in this like environment and keep doing what I love if I don't actually go out and say, okay, I taking these precautions. Let's go ahead, make sure everything's safe. I'm like super happy with like, there's a level of being careful. And let's just go for it. And then again, if I do get it, let's take those proper precautions back and make sure that nobody's near us and we're isolating and all that.
Cool. Are you doing any
right.
top 8s this weekend coming up at Frosty?
Yes. So I will be commentating top 8 for MK11.
Yes.
And I will be commentating top 8 for Melty Blood. Saturday is going to be crazy for me, which I'm really excited for because it's going to be a lot of Melty Blood and I'm ready.
Wait, is that with David? Are you doing top 8 with David for MK11?
So I believe it's Katana Prime for top 8.
Okay.
Some
Yeah.
jobber
David,
named
shove it,
Katana
Saki's
Prime.
taking the job.
Some loser named KP. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
what if I'm
David
in
could
the
be
top
in the top 8. That's right. That's right.
We heard
Yeah.
how your training's been going, bud. So you're
Not
gonna be
going
in
Come on. David is
not
playing the
going
long con. He's playing the
There's 16 players.
He's playing the long con. He's like, I'm doing really terrible, so that the people who, you know, the billions of people who watch our show are just going to be like, yo, David is doing badly, you know,
Oh,
kind of thing.
I don't need to take David seriously. Oh,
Right,
yeah. Well, you
exactly.
don't. So anyway, I'll enjoy myself. I'm looking forward to it. All right, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you there. We'll do like elbow daps from 6 feet away.
Yeah. Now, I ask everybody this question. Where did the handle Saki Sakura come from?
Okay, so it's not from Naruto.
Like a secret.
Turn that on like super fast, real quick.
So, yeah.
So Sakura, I'm a lover of cherry blossoms, and
Cool. Okay.
I used to use the tag Sakura quite often, but when I was younger, I was on mobile gaming a lot, so there wasn't many characters. So a lot of like my guild mates, what they would do is they would shorten from the Ura to like E with an I because they weren't going to call me SAK. So it just stuck, and now I'm known as Saki Sakura. And there you go.
I like it.
So it's like the short and the full name tied together. But oh,
Yeah. She woke up, so I'm just like getting her now.
Who is this?
This is Shion.
Shion, nice.
Girl or boy?
It's a girl.
Girl. Oh gosh, she's so
Right.
cute. Look at her.
Well, thanks for coming on. Have a good trip to Frosty's. Hope it all goes well, and enjoy the weekend. I'll see you there.
Thank you so much.
right.
See you
Take
later.
care. Everybody seems to love the cat. Okay.
The cat.
Cats are popular here on the Tuesday show, you know.
Yeah, man. Shout outs to cats. We're all into cats.
All right.
What? That's not a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
Maybe it's weird.
Because
Maybe
we're
it's
all already such cool cats. That's why. So.
Well, thanks a lot to Saki for coming on. Very interesting to hear the backstory, like, of her having done sports stuff beforehand.
I knew there was some cheater mode in there.
It makes
I knew
sense.
she cheated
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
She's way too good for me to just like have heard about this person.
For sure.
The first time I heard her commentary, I was like, she's the best. This
Yeah.
is incredible. And then, I get it now.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's move on to the 5-5 matchup where we discuss whatever topic it is. We're going to be starting off with an Ultra Chen one.
Yep. So this is interesting. This
our
is the
choice.
backstory behind this is, I was seeing some people discuss this. Obviously CPT was canceled, and a lot of people, fans out there, are kind of mad about it. I know Daigo, for example, said on stream one time he was like kind of sad that CPT was canceled and everything. So I was just wondering, I know obviously they're going to do like the exhibition kind of thing like they did last year, but do you feel like that they could do something more perhaps for the players? Like maybe even postpone the event or auto qualify them into the next year if, obviously Street Fighter V might get patches, but still it's like you kind of want to reward a lot of these people for their efforts. I mean, what do you think?
I continue to wish that they hadn't straight up canceled it and instead had postponed it.
Right.
Because there is a real chance that the Omicron wave will be over next month. It's possible anyway. I mean, we'll see. And so it's just a real uncertain time, right? I don't mean to say that it's definitely going to be gone, but it's just a lot of uncertainty, and things could get better really fast, or even worse, also really fast. So if it had been postponed, I feel like there's more leeway for them to be, to sort of just have it at future time, and maybe the way that Genesis is postponed for a few months, that kind of option.
Yeah.
Instead, it's canceled. So yeah, I'm glad that they are at least doing the online, let's have matches, what they can do. Obviously, they can't have Japan play against Brazil, right? It's just, that couldn't happen on any games of internet, let alone on Street Fighter V's netplay. So yeah, they're doing what they can do. In the future, I think it would be great if they had something in, middle of next season of CPT, which hopefully happens, but middle of next season, maybe they have an event. Hey, everybody, let's have not Capcom Cup, but let's have like mid-season congratulations to everybody who did well last time and have a tournament. And basically it's Capcom Cup, but you're not calling it Capcom Cup. Yeah, I think that would be cool. I also think that would be probably really expensive to put on and like maybe not financially worthwhile, but it would be cool. Sure, of course.
Tubo, any thoughts on this in particular?
I think it sucks they canceled it. That's about as far as it goes. I mean, I don't know, man. Everybody's thing is getting canceled. Everybody's thing they've been looking forward to, their thing they've been working hard on. Like it's disappointing, but it's also expected. So it's like if you were competing really hard to qualify, I do feel terrible for you, but also you had to know in the back of your head this was a possibility.
Right.
So I don't know. I feel like maybe people should like temper their expectations because you should be used to this by now. We've been doing it for 2 years. Like we know how this goes, guys. Like it sucks, but that's the world right now. So
yeah.
But I do wish they rescheduled it. I don't like that they canceled it. I think it's kind of whack.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, last year the prize pool was just distributed evenly amongst like all the players, right? So they at least the people got something out of it, right? But obviously,
and their exhibitions mattered for what their payout was too, I believe.
Right.
The case.
But everybody got at least some money.
Yeah, everybody got like a nice chunk of change at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I hadn't even really thought about it, but yeah, I mean, it would be nice to see them, maybe postpone it or maybe try to plan something for it, or yeah, I don't know. Like, I wonder if there's a way that they could like even like what if they ran like you said like a mid-season Capcom Cup in Vegas like the weekend or the week after Evo. So people who flew out.
You guys are assuming there's another season. Do you guys know something I don't? Because they haven't announced, as far as I know. And
yeah, just assuming.
I wouldn't be shocked if there wasn't a Capcom Cup for 2023.
Really? See, that never.
I feel like Street Fighter 6 is coming. I don't think this would be a smart thing, by the way. I think they should do it.
Right.
But I can see them making the argument of we're going to take a year off and come back strong in Street Fighter 6.
I mean, honestly,
because
again,
of COVID, like what do you do, man? Like these things keep happening. They can't finish their season. Maybe just wait. Maybe just not and save the money and put it towards Street Fighter 6.
I mean, honestly, I have no inside information, but I hadn't even thought that was a possibility, to be honest. Like, to me, I was just like, yep, here comes the next season. I don't think
they should do that, but I do think it's a possibility that they could.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would hurt their momentum too much, even going into Street Fighter 6. I feel like...
I agree with you.
Because this way at Capcom Cup events, you could leak little things about Street Fighter 6 as you go, right? I mean, that way...
You mean announce, James, not leak, okay?
Sorry, yeah. What I meant was drip information slowly is what I mean, like with each CPT event.
Like a leak? To drip slow.
See, that's why I use the word leak. That's why I didn't mean it as a leak. I just meant like slowly disseminate information. Okay, that's what I'm talking about here. So,
back in the day when they would have CPTs, they would then have trailers at the end of some.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm. 1,000 years ago in offline tournaments, yeah, we used to do that.
And so they could definitely do things like that. Although I hope that they don't stop their, update streams, because those update streams are awesome for sure.
Yeah, but I just hope they turn into Street Fighter 6 update streams very soon.
But
very soon.
Point being that, if they ran it like a week after Evo in Vegas, then a lot of the players who would fly out for Evo would kind of be there already. This is assuming that we could even fly out to an Evo this year, you know what I mean? Right, who knows? But you know what I mean? This is, in conjunction with maybe they could have postponed until things are better. And assuming things got better, they could almost piggyback off of something like an Evo when a lot of the players are going to be flying out anyway and run kind of the event that way. Something, I don't know, but seeing how disappointed a lot of players are and seeing how frustrated, like, even someone like Daigo is, because, he was saying he put in a ton of work.
Just because Daigo thought he was going to win.
He maybe would have.
Dude, wouldn't you be frustrated if you think you're going to win and get a chunk of that? $200,000?
I would be very upset. I feel like anybody's competed in these fields.
Of course.
They're doing it because they think they can win. It's not because they don't think they can win,
Yeah. Well, we talked about that side of it before. I mean, of course, we feel bad for the players who put in so much work. At the same time, right there, you can, if you're a player, you can be mad and also understand the situation.
Right.
Both of those feelings can coexist, of course.
And then obviously last week we were talking about like 6-digit losses for like Genesis and stuff like that. It's not like Capcom can just be like, well, let's just move it to this time and everything's honky dory. So it might not even be that easy for Capcom to do something
Capcom
like that.
Capcom can do it a lot easier than the Genesis crew can. Let me tell you.
Well, for sure, right? But I mean, budgets are budgets, right? And if you've ever been part of a big old company, budgets are like the approval chain is like ridiculous, right? Like it's impossible. Everyone's always like, why can't Harada do this for Tekken and just put $500,000 in the prize pool? Namco has a lot of money. Yeah, like because Harada's gonna take his ATM, the Bandai Namco ATM card, and just and just be like, 500,000, let's do it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, one thing I hope that they do not do, I don't want them to do auto qualifiers for the next Capcom Cup.
Okay.
for the people who are in this current one. Because
Okay.
at that time, well, I guess two reasons, right? One is that there should still be I hope that there will be a Capcom Pro Tour next year, and that will have its own qualifiers. And I want those people to be the ones who will be in the next Capcom Cup at that point.
But what if we just
And
make it
not the
64
people
players?
who are, right, and not the people from before who may or may not be taking it seriously at that point. But yeah, I also don't want like a 1,000-person Capcom Cup tournament. I don't want it to be 60.
Open bracket Capcom Cup. Let's do it.
Right, yeah, I want it to be still a small number of people. 32 is where they've landed on, and that's fine with me. 64, I mean, it probably wouldn't be 64. Like, certainly some of the same people will qualify. Like, that will happen at least some situations.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think that that's appropriate at that point. So, having a delayed Capcom Cup, okay, waiting an entire year and then auto qualifying, I think that's too much.
Yeah, I agree.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Well then,
We can move on to the
Moving on.
viewer choice over here. We've narrowed your 5 questions down to 3 potential picks here. And here are the questions.
How did you do 3? Who does 3 like that? What?
who doesn't
Ugh.
do like that?
What is this? Your side 3 is your 3? It's not this?
That's how the Germans do it.
It's
You
the
never
middle
see
3,
it.
buddy. What are you doing?
How's the Germans do it? Did you just
That's how
say?
the Germans do it.
You're
Yeah.
making everything up now. What are you
No,
talking
man, you never seen Inglorious Bastards?
Oh, I guess I have actually. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Well, look, the poll is up. You can start voting right now. Exclamation mark 1, exclamation mark 2, exclamation mark 3. I guess, do you want to read the questions? Do you want me to read them?
Number 1, with older entries in fighting games being supported by the community like Street Fighter 4, MKX, etc., should sequels be more unique than their predecessors and blossom into their own games? Or should they attempt to be as similar, but better, as possible? Number 2, do you prefer games where the design is less intentional and iterative and are rarely patched, i.e. classic stuff? Or do you prefer the current model of fighting games with repeated iterations and updates like MK? If you prefer somewhere in between, what's the sweet spot for yous? Number 3, is Microsoft's buyout of Activision Blizzard a sign of change of how video games will be consumed? What would be the pros and cons of Netflixing the video game experience?
So
Okay.
again, if you are a subscriber, you get 2 votes. If you are not a subscriber, you only get 1 vote. So I am watching the trends here. You guys can start voting right now. As you can see, we are in low vote numbers here, so the results can change very quickly as I see it happening right now, as I will show David.
We're only taking 1.
We're only taking 1.
Only
We're definitely
1.
getting... So one question was ahead for a while, then dropped behind, and now back in the lead, and...
Bam! Putting in the official UltraChenTV vote. Bam!
I never vote because...
I think that's the...
All right, Anderson.
Never mind.
Oh, okay. I think that's
That's
good.
good.
Yeah, that's good right there. So I'm going to
3.
call it, close the vote. Number 3 is the victor. So we will do number 3.
Number 3, is Microsoft's buyout of Activision Blizzard a sign of change of how video games will be consumed? What would be the pros and cons of, quote, Netflixing the video game experience?
Okay.
Well, guys, let me tell you.
First of all, you're quiet. Is that true for everybody else?
Am I
Yeah.
quiet?
I've been trying to tune him up a little bit.
Okay, now you're eating yourself. It's
Oh,
weird.
I'm sorry.
Okay, there you go. There you go. There you
All
go.
right. Well, anyways, first of all, let me take you guys back to 1993 when Sega Channel came out. This isn't a new concept, the Netflixing, quote unquote, of video games. This has been around literally since the 90s. I
What was
don't
the
think
Sega
it's
channel?
gonna.
For the
Yeah,
people in the
Sega
chat.
Channel.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess there are people that don't know what Sega Channel is.
93
Oh,
was
boy.
80 years ago, Brock. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. It is forever ago. You're not wrong. Sega Channel was a deck you plugged into the top of your Sega Genesis, and you ran a cable, like for cable TV, into your wall, and it delivered video games to you on the spot. Basically, the cable connection would like load the ROM onto a chip, and you would play the ROM. And if you paid like $20 a month or whatever, you got basically every game on Sega Genesis. It was amazing. It was so cool. My family was broke, and rather than buy us video games, because spending $80 at one time is much more punishing to a poor person than spending $20 a month, we had Sega Channel. So this, like I said, this isn't a new concept. This is something that's literally happened since the 90s. I don't think it'll negatively affect or even change how we consume video games right now. The way I view the Netflixing, quote unquote, again, of video games is a good thing, because it's the last thing we have that's a rental service. You cannot rent video games anymore. There's not mom and pop rental shops. There's not like many mom and pop game stores that allow you to rent games anymore either. So the only thing you can do is get Game Pass and try out all the new games on Game Pass. Like, that's how I use Game Pass. It's a rental service for me. I don't like that Microsoft is going to own half of video games, period. That part sucks. I don't like that part. But I don't think the actual being able to download games on command changes anything right now.
The only place that I see rentals happening for games is, oh no, I'm blanking the name. Red something. Right.
Redbox does not have game rentals anymore. They stopped giving game rentals about 4 years ago.
No, really? Was that the last time I did it? Was
Google
4
that
years
shit.
ago?
I promise you.
Oh, the passage of time is so crazy. Okay.
Well, I mean,
Yep.
I literally feel like that was 6 months ago, bro. Okay.
I mean, don't even forget when Netflix was discs, there was also GameFly.
You can still do that option. You can still have the disc mailed to you, but they're Blu-rays now. You can get Blu-rays.
Oh, yeah. No. My brother still does the discs on Netflix, actually.
Okay.
He still does, 100%. But remember, they had GameFly. They did that for video games as well.
GameFly is still an option, but GameFly is expensive, isn't it?
Right.
Isn't it like $30 a month or something? Game Pass is like 10.
Yeah. So, from my standpoint, I mean, I don't like it. I kind of hate the idea of it, because streaming movies is already a super pain in the ass. Because, back when everything was on Netflix, it was great. But nowadays, it's like, I want to, like, literally my brother right now, the movie watcher, is literally shuffling between what he's subscribed to like every month, and he keeps changing. So this month it's Hulu, next month it's HBO Max, the month after that is Amazon Prime, the next month after that is et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And while Microsoft owns a bunch of stuff, what's going to happen is that if we end up in this Warner Brothers versus Disney versus kind of setup here, we're going to have to subscribe to 4 services to get access to all the games that we want, because eventually some of the games are going to disappear unless Microsoft buys everything, right? And
I mean, the thing is, though, video games, you can easily download. If you don't want to pay for the subscription, you can still pay. You can still buy Halo. Like, you don't have to have Game Pass. You can just buy Halo Infinite and play it as much as you like. Movies are different. Movies, like, once they go out of print, how the hell do you find that film? We don't have to worry about that with digital game downloads. So I don't think your fear is like justified, right?
Well, I mean, because it's kind of the same. And digital film downloads is, see, again, being an old fuck that I am, like, digital download is actually even more terrifying to me, thinking about like the UMVC3 scenario or MVC2, right? Like, we have no access to these things. And so once they try to do this digital thing, Netflix will lose this month, and it goes here, and then like, I want to watch these movies, they're not available on any of the 5 streaming services, because who knows what the hell reason for that is, etc. So like, it might just get to a point where, like, because you can buy movies right now, you could just go to Amazon right now and buy almost any movie you want for that cost. Same thing with buying digital games. If I want to see this movie, I can go to Amazon and just be like, I want to watch Hobbs and Shaw right now, and I can buy it for like $6 on Amazon.
I mean, sure, yeah.
We actually just watched Robin Hood Men in Tights last night. We bought it on Amazon.
See?
Sick.
See, so the same scenario exists. And like I said, I'm just worried because once we get to this Netflixing kind of thing of like, here's this service and that service, because they'll obviously Game Pass will have no Nintendo games on there. And I freaking love Nintendo games. So I'm going to have to subscribe to the Nintendo Netflix. And then I'm going to have to subscribe to the Xbox Netflix. And then I'm going to subscribe to the PlayStation Netflix. Like, is it really that much better or more convenient? I mean, at that point, I'd rather just buy the game so I can own them on a disc so I never lose the game ever again.
Well, I hate to tell you, James, but most games you buy on a disc nowadays don't even contain the game. It tells your Xbox or your PlayStation to start downloading the game.
Yeah, I know.
So even if you have the physical disc,
no, they're on the
you don't own the game.
No, they're actually on the disc. They just download the game from the disc to the console, basically. The disc is not blank. Like, that's not...
Well, there's definitely game discs that
does
don't
happen.
contain the entire game,
Yeah,
homie.
and
They
even
require an internet connection for you to play the game the first time because they have to download files.
Right, they have to download the patches and the updates
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So, yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's just like we're in a weird situation right now where people won't do anything to their PS4s because they have PT on there. And like, can we ever, if everyone decided to delete their PS4s, then PT is gone forever, right? I don't know. Digital, I mean, it's the same reason why I'm terrified of crypto. I don't trust things being completely digital. You know what I mean?
The future is now, old man.
Yeah, I mean, you sound
Used
like
to the metaverse.
You sound like a crypto person right now. So
I mean, they're not wrong in that regard. I think things are digital. Digital ownership is a thing. Ownership. Like, we
That's
don't
awful.
actually own anything anymore.
we have licenses.
That's actually awful.
Yeah, we have licenses.
If discs actually all they just contain are download codes.
Yeah,
and
I promise you, James.
That's
That,
what
there are
Brock's saying.
definitely games that don't. They are not on the disc. A
That's
lot of games don't even fit on a Blu-ray. A lot of times because
awful.
compression is
Right.
terrible.
That's terrible.
Yeah, that's real life, James. So like, that's what I was saying is like your fear of everything being digital. It's already been realized, and now you just have to deal with it. Like, there's no
but
unless you
again-
play like maybe like Nintendo Switch games only.
But again,
because they
it
do
doesn't-
load the whole game on the thing.
It doesn't make it. Like I said, the problem is that's not even the main concern. The main concern is just that we're going to end up, if it gets really popular, we're going to end up with 5 different services that we're going to have to sit there and manage on how to play the games and such. And maybe it's actually convenient. Like, if you're good at it, like my brother is, who basically is subscribed to only 2 things every month, right? 3 things every month, which is Netflix, Disney Plus, and extra random thing that he just waits until enough things show up on that channel that he wants to see for that month. And maybe that's a way that we have to live, that we're just like, Game Pass for this month. Oh, now I want to play the new Mario game, so I'm going to cancel that and now subscribe to the Nintendo one for the month and just play that. But it's just like, it's annoying, dude.
David, do you have thoughts? We haven't
Did I
heard
ever
from
tell you about the argument that I had with my music law professor at UCLA in 2010 or 2009?
I believe so, yeah.
Basically, it was just I was a big pirate, obviously, and I always had arguments with him about it because he's like, "Yeah, at the I bought a movie last night, Bucko." He's like a real fancy music law professor, representing major clients, and so he and I got into arguments a lot. And one of them was about the future, and Vivo was just starting. It was which is like YouTube. Has deals with music licenses, whatever, you guys know the deal, but it was just starting at that point. And so he was like, do you think that this is going to be, or no, I guess I was like, do you think that that's going to be like the thing in the future, that we'll just do like subscriptions all the time? And he was like, I do think that. And I was like, why would you do that? We're not that many years away from being able to fit the discography of humanity in our pockets. That's just a few years down the road. You could just have every song ever. Why wouldn't we just do that? And he was like, nah, that's not how people work. They're going to want to have subscriptions, and it's going to be easier for them. They're not going to have to own anything. And also, it's better for the companies because that way they get to make rents. They get to make people rent out the things that right now they own, which is better for them. Yep. And I was like, people never buy that. Are you serious?
He was right.
He was absolutely correct, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
That is what is. A lot of people think that that's easier, and a lot of people would just rather not have the hassle or whatever of having physical things and of having ownership, I guess. So yeah, that's like clearly what the future is. And it's, well, as Brock's saying, it's now. Like that is how it is now.
That's yeah.
So I think sure that there are some pros and cons, and I think that you guys basically talked about them. But I also think that that's just how it's going, and I would like it to be different. I don't see that happening. I don't see that changing. I think that instead it's probably going to be the opposite, that will continue to move further into this world where people have fewer and fewer things. You rely more and more on some outside service, and you pay them a rent, whatever it is per month. And I think that we'll probably continue to go that way. I think that James is right when, thinking back to early Netflix, when it was, the early times of being able to download stuff. It was great because they had so much stuff, of course. And it's not like that at all now. It's relatively big hassle. It's not a big hassle, but it's a slight hassle that there are all these different services. Ideally, there would be one service, right? Like that is, right. This is a situation where it's just kind of
Wait, is that ideal? Because I think it's called a monopoly.
Well, right. I mean,
it wouldn't be owned one company, right?
I do think it's something that naturally lends itself to monopolization. I think it's a network effect kind of situation, where the more people who are on one thing, not just people, but the more goods that are on one thing, the more valuable it is. And so there's just kind of this like natural tendency. And yeah, I think that is the case. Whether that's whatever, it's not going to happen without government regulation, obviously. Does government provide that, or does government force the companies to give that, or whatever? Do we create a library in some way that has all of this? There's certainly approaches to it, but it's not going to come from the companies themselves. That's got to have government backing, government changes, and I don't see any real movement for that. So I think that that's probably a long time off if it ever happens too. So pros and cons for sure. I think both are there, right? I mean, Brock, you're totally right that being able to just play a bunch of different games, relatively speaking, for a relatively small amount of money is not.
I also like to point out PC has never had like a rental option. You can't rent PC games.
That's true.
So now that Game Pass exists and almost all the games are on PC, it's great. It feels good to rent PC games.
I get it, man. Yeah, I think there are some clear positives to it.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, as a person who grew up in physical, I mean, I see some people in the chat saying like, they don't like. I have my small bedroom is just bookshelves of all my games dating back to Nintendo. Like I have them all there, and yeah, I'm not gonna touch most of them. Yeah, they're just sitting there, but goddamn, is it beautiful? God damn, if it's not beautiful. Oh God, just like opening the cabinet and you see Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and then the Saturn, PlayStation, and then here's the Genesis, and oh God, it's pretty glorious. But I understand that I'm a minority. I am a minority in that, and I take after my dad, who has 700 bookshelves of movies at home that my mom hates. And and my dad's always told me, you should stop renting out your room, just put bookshelves in there so I can put all my movies in your room. And I'm like, why would I do that? Like I have my own collection,
I mean, if he's gonna pay the rent, then sure, yeah,
exactly.
For the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm in between. I like to have physical things when it's a game that I really care about. I buy physical fighting games for games that I care about a lot. Other than that, I basically download because I want to have as few. I don't like having clutter around, and I want to minimize that to the extent that I can.
Yeah. I think it's funny. So I've told this story before. Zilcho in the chat says I have over 100 music CDs. Same. I mean, probably more. I probably have like 200 or 300 music CDs in my house right now. And I still remember talking to someone very young. It was Magnetro at the time, and he's like, "Do you own a lot of CDs?" And I'm like, "I own a ton of CDs." He's like 20 or 30. I was like, "Oh my God."
By the way, Magnetro's probably in his mid-30s now.
Yeah, nowadays.
I have. I just realized right now I have like 20 or 30 CDs, and I have no way to play them. I don't have any CD player in my house right now. My PC doesn't have. Why would my PC have an optical drive?
Yeah.
I have a Nintendo Switch. I can't even use the CDs. Why do I have them? Golly. What am I doing?
That's why I still have an audio
player
tape.
right here. Look at this thing. Oh, this is actually. I keep it in my drawer next to my computer, underneath my computer. Never plugged in. I've had this for many years, and I think I've plugged it in once or twice. I don't know if it still works. Yeah. When
Way to go.
You don't need to do that.
Wild.
Yeah,
All right.
I mean, I still have plenty of ways to play CDs. I have ways to play audio tapes. I have a VHS. It's not hooked up, but if I actually needed that VHS player just recently, very importantly. So it was very nice to have it. So it was cool. My brother was on TV on a Chinese program one time to talk about Oscars and stuff like that. They found him on Rotten Tomatoes.
Taped it with a VCR?
No, well, this was a long time ago. But my brother asked for a copy of it, and they sent him the copy on VHS. And so, because that was the thing at the time, and he needed it digitized recently. And bam, I digitized it for him. So there you go.
There are also services where you can do that for just a few bucks.
Yeah, I
Really
know.
cheap.
But it's just
That's cool.
nice
I'm glad
to be
you're
able
still
to have
getting
that
used to it.
option. So
I hear you.
yeah,
I hear you. All right. Well, big changes in the world of Earth. We done with that?
We're done with that. Moving on.
Let's move on to the final segment of the official Tuesday show, which is
The official show.
The mailbag.
Mailbag.
All right, here we go.
Again, we are paring these down now to only 2. So we got a lot. We actually got 9 submissions today. Shout outs to everybody. But we had a big knockdown, drag out fight over which ones we'd be talking about.
Yeah, we
and
fought
I got
physically.
destroyed.
Although I just want to, even though these 2 weren't selected, I have to read these questions back to back.
Okay.
Which is number 4. ATB via Twitter asks, why do all the mailbag questions revolve around wizards? Why can't a witch, warlock, mage, sorcerer, magician, or druid be casting all these magic spells? And then the next question is nothing excess via Twitter. A druid grants you the ability to mash together one fighting game event with one other style of event of your. I mean, I just thought that was hilarious.
As soon as a druid, I started crying, laughing.
Yeah, it was amazing.
The comedic timing on paper was incredible in my brain. I was just like, "This is gold. This is perfect." And I was crying.
Good work.
All right. So first question that we selected here is from Azor MX via Twitter. You are granted with a power that by a sorcerer, a power that makes your tournament runs behave like arcade mode. If you lose the set, you can continue and go back in time to the beginning of the set, but you remember your experiences. How many credits does it take you to win a major?
It takes me a lot of credits, James.
I don't know if this game is beatable.
It takes me a lot of credits.
Yeah, because you're never gonna. Because the thing about it is, the top players out there are the ones that have the adaptability, right? It's not like a computer game where you can eventually figure out its pattern and.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? This, I assume what this means is that if you make a decision, the other person will always have the same response. Once you see what their response is, then the next time you relive this, if you make that same decision, they will make the same decision.
I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works. I feel like when they say it works like arcade mode, that means it would be the same as playing, like you played against Zangief in arcade mode. If you throw a fireball, he's not always going to jump.
Yeah, okay. I don't think it's Groundhog Day.
That's Groundhog Day. This is different.
Yeah.
This is different.
And so that's just the thing, is like a lot of times, one of the reasons why on commentary I hate predicting what people are going to do. Like, oh, he's going to wake up DB and he doesn't. Like, I'm so smart. Like, the reason why I hate doing that is because if he was playing me, he wouldn't have woken up DP. in that exact same scenario because he has the read on me and he knows the kind of person that I am. You know what I mean? He knows that I would expect a wake up DP at this point. And so like the smart players out there are just really good at figuring out the opponent players. Like, I mean, what my resolutions, one of them was the Make Manta 2015 Sweat in Soul Calibur. I'll tell you, man, I'll play this guy and I will do a forward. So throwing is a 50-50 break guess in Soul Calibur. I will forward throw him 6 times in a row and he breaks it all 6 times. And I'm like, why do you think I'm never going to switch? He's like, I don't know. And then I'm like, do it like 5 times in a row and then I switch and he switches. I don't know. I can't figure it out. Like, he always knows what I'm going to do, no matter how clever I try to be. And that's just one of those matchup things. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do, like, your opponent is not playing in a vacuum. He's playing against you, and he has this read of you. So if I could continue to try to beat Punk in a tournament forever, I don't know if I ever would. You know, I mean, I'll probably get better as the months drag on so that maybe at some point in time I will be able to beat him, like maybe after a few months, because I'm just grinding this game nonstop and I'm just going to get better from that experience. But it'll still take quite some time, in my opinion.
Yeah, the players who I'm playing against aren't getting better, right? They're playing the same level.
Yeah,
just
they're
like
playing
in
the same
CPU.
level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think it takes a long time, and it's basically just that I would need to become a top player, right? I'm just playing these top players exclusively so much, or whoever, and it's not just top players in the tournament, right? It's whoever you run into. I'm playing against them so much that I don't necessarily need to see. That is to say, like, I don't need to have them be some algorithm, whatever, that I figure out. But I will, I think, at some point, know enough about what they like to do that I could make good enough guesses, like once, to get past them. And then it would, then I would, okay, now I'm on the next
one
stage, and I'm taking a long time to beat the next person, and eventually, I think it would be doable, but I think that it would take a really long time. I would spend a lot of money on this game.
I think it purely depends on what game it is for me. Like, if it's like Dragon Ball Fighters, I'm never gonna beat Goichi. Like, I'm never.
You don't need to take
Marvel 3,
one 2 out of 3 set after 1,000 continues.
No, I don't think if I played Goichi 10,000 matches in a row, and Goichi never got better, I would not get to that player's level. Not in Dragon Ball Fighters. But if it's like Marvel 3, I think eventually I could catch up to most people playing Marvel 3.
Dude, Marvel 3 is a game where you could happen to get a few X-Factor comebacks.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I could do that in Marvel 3, but Dragon Ball Fighters, there's no way in hell. I'd run out of money. I would be broke. I would be homeless. I couldn't do it. It wouldn't happen.
What makes that interesting to me, too, as well, is that there is a debate now where if you did have the ability to continue, but since you're fighting against a human, if you just play as wild and reckless as possible, you might have a quicker chance of winning a set just from shocking the opponent. Like, why the hell would you do that, eventually, than you would actually trying to get good to their level?
I mean, they're not figuring me out. I'm figuring them out. They're not getting any smarter each time we play.
Yeah.
So I don't think that I would go with the absolute zany, brainless approach. I think that I would go with trying to understand who they are and what they like to do. And I think it would take a long time. But I think that in the games that I play, I see myself winning this thing eventually. It's just,
it'll take a while.
I spent a lot of money on learning Q back in the day in the arcades, and yeah.
Also,
tell me how that worked.
I mean, if it was like
great.
Super Turbo and I'm allowed to switch characters, yeah, I'll win eventually. You just pick Claw, you'll win eventually. Like, there's no question about that. No question about that.
All right.
Next question. Tavi Turnip via Discord asks, so I've gone out of my way to use or explain bifurcate ever since hearing David say it last week. Do you find yourselves latching onto new words when you learn about them, or do you save them in your back pocket for the perfect time to unleash them on someone unsuspecting?
First of all, I want it known that I'm actually the one of us three who didn't pick this question, all right? I wasn't the one who chose this one. It was instead James and the mysterious invisible man over here.
What just happened over here?
I promise I'm not in the bathroom.
What are you up to? Is it seeing right through your body? It's kind of how it looks to me.
No,
It's
he's
looking
not
at my
there at
background.
all. He's just not
I'm
there
not
at
there.
all.
I'm not there.
I know, but it looks kind of like there is a shirt shape there with like the neck in
Oh,
there, which
yeah.
is kind of weird looking. I mean, there is definitely words that I've heard that are just, I love this word and I would like to use it as much as possible. I think I mentioned defenestrate last week, but there's just not a lot of opportunities. For me, it's usually phrases or stuff that other people say that I end up getting, that end up in my vernacular somehow, and I just end up repeating stuff that other people say a lot. And
I do find that happens a lot with you.
I latch on to what other people say and I get stuck on that, unfortunately. So, but that definitely happens to me.
What about you?
Well, no, I don't use big words. I want people to think I'm a big old dum-dum.
Okay, when you realize you're not, and now it's too late, what do you do?
I don't know, man. I'm much more quicker to use like slang terms than I am big smart brain words that I learned that are new. So if that counts, sure. But like, I don't think I'm ever dropping. Like, I'm not trying to like dunk on someone with my vocabulary. That's not how I go about it. I'll just dunk on you more directly. So.
There's no better way to
I
dunk.
can't say that I have the experience.
You can't get more directly dunking on somebody than using words that they don't know, man. That's the paragon of dunking people, dude. Come on.
No, I want someone to know that I dunked them, though. Like, people that are that dumb are probably just confused by the whole situation. So I got to be very direct.
No, paragon is one of those words because I always remember when my brother was studying for the SATs when I was really young. You know, we were going through all the words and everything like that, and the word paragon came up. And there was this terrible game on the NES called Amagon. And so I said, Amagon is not a paragon of video games. And since then, me and my brother have never forgotten that word. So I use the word paragon a lot sometimes. So
That's cute. I don't try to, what we talk about is I don't try to dunk on people by using big words. I do find that sometimes it's hard for me to think about which words I want to say and not come up with something that other people consider a big word.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not doing that on purpose. And if I could, I would not use words that I thought the other person didn't understand. Like I'm trying to talk to somebody, right? Like I'm not trying to confuse them. Let's have a conversation, and that includes we need to both understand each other. So I'm not trying to make that happen. At the same time, like it happens regularly, and it's not.
I was just about to say,
I'm not trying to do it.
This is all bullshit. I'm not
trying to do it.
I'm not trying. It just happens all the time.
Because sometimes
It's been happening like that since I was a kid. I can recall situations in middle school when this happened, and my friends got mad. We were sitting there at lunch, having a lunch in our little corner on the school, and I don't remember what the word is, but I just couldn't think of another word that was whatever concept I wanted to express. And so I said it, and they were like, oh, whatever the word, huh, David? Oh, you had to just bring this one out, huh? You think we're all idiots and we won't understand it? And I was like, no, not at all.
I mean, sometimes you learn those words and they're like the perfect word to describe something. And so, like, you can't not use it, right? And so...
I mean, English has so many synonyms that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
That does happen sometimes.
My dad, like, all he's doing is, like, reading books right now, and he just has this notebook where he writes down every word that he doesn't know, and he's, like, writing down the meaning of them and everything like that. Cool. And he came up to me one time and he asked me, so what's the difference between all these synonyms? And I just looked at it and I was like... holy crap, like what is the difference between all these synonyms, dude? Like, seriously.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to tell.
Yeah,
I mean, we have a weird language for sure. So when dude, I'm sure I learn new words all the time, and I don't remember the last time that it happened. Which is to say that when I learn a new word, it's not like I go, "Oh, new word I haven't heard before. I need to remember to say that." I guess what must just be happening is that like I'm remembering them, and the next time a situation comes up, there it is. But
I read a Reddit headline of an article because I did not read the article, but the headline said that's a natural thing our brains do. Like if you learn something and then all of a sudden you start noticing it more often, like people say, "Oh, I learned this thing and now I'm seeing it all over the place." It's, that's your brain is doing that on purpose.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
So your
of course.
brain is like, "Oh, you just learned the word hippopotamus. I'm gonna use that hippopotamus all the time now." Like that's your brain
I don't
getting you
think
to
I
learn
do.
that.
I think I.
Oh,
I
you
think
do. You do.
Do I? Maybe I do.
You do.
I just haven't noticed it. I'll try to pay attention. I guess.
That's you talking sometimes.
Yeah,
I can't
Micro
understand it.
flavor
I
yoga.
have no idea what just came out of my mouth. That's David talking.
Thanks, buddy.
No,
I appreciate
no,
that.
you-
Dude, and again, once again, Investigation Cone with the amazing like Google foo here. Bader Meinhof phenomenon, aka the recency bias or frequency illusion. Jeez. Nice.
There you go. See, it wasn't
Yeah, I
a
mean,
thing I
look.
made up. That headline didn't lie to me. How about that?
English has
I
too
didn't
many
give
words.
fake news.
I don't think anybody should feel bad if you see a word in English that you don't know. There's just too many
Dude,
words. Nobody
you know
knows
what the
all.
best thing?
Literally,
this
no
is
humans know all.
Totally side topic here. Totally side topic here. But you know, me and my brother used to play Words with Friends and Scrabble on our phones and mobiles against each other.
Nerds.
One of the things that we actually found out reading about actual Scrabble tournaments is the bluff. Actual Scrabble tournaments, people
Oh, yeah?
would bluff words that don't exist, but if you call them out and are wrong, you lose your turn. So people would actually bluff with words that sound like this is Scrabble tournaments. Like these words.
So what if you get called out though? What's the penalty? What's the risk?
Then
here?
you have to take all the tiles back, like draw them or something, or you lose your turn
Well,
basically.
if you just get your shit back, that's not much of a penalty. You're,
Right,
you're-
yeah.
yeah.
No,
there-
but
there
you
better
lose
be
your
something.
turn. You lose your turn.
Okay.
And I'll
Oh,
tell
I
you
see,
this
I see.
in Scrabble, having played it a lot, and me and my brother played at high level, losing a turn is devastating in Scrabble.
High
But, like,
level? What's high level Scrabble?
dude, learning
that
how
like?
to block, like me and my brother play Scrabble and Words with Friends as defensively as possible so that nobody could, like I've played people and they won't play me anymore because I'm so,
You're a zoner, huh?
Why is Scrabble and fighting games have the hardest thing to learn in common?
dude, we
How to
are
block.
both so good at blocking in Scrabble, which is play this so that we know all the 2-letter words, so you can't play things vertically against them, and you don't set it up so they can get to a double word, and you set this up here. You purposely use the V because the V has no actual 2 letters, so you can never play anything parallel to the V. You know, there's all this strategy there. And I just, like, me and my brother were fascinated by the fact that you can actually bluff. Like people have told stories where they've won tournaments by putting a word that doesn't exist, but it's so like real wordish that the other person couldn't risk losing their turn on it. And it's just,
I
to
think
me,
that
that's
sounds
just
like a
so.
fun. The game aspect of that sounds fun, but also
Yeah.
one of the cool things about this ridiculous language is that it's so easy to make up words, and the other person can so easily know what you're talking about. All of us do that all the time.
I mean, the whole
And we're constantly coming up
ambiguous
with-
and cromulent is like the
Yeah.
best example, right?
Embiggen's a great word. I mean, cromulent is, I don't think, not as good of an example, but embiggen is the perfect kind of thing.
Right.
Where you know it, as soon as you hear it, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, it embiggens
We're
the
doing that
spirit.
stuff all the
yeah.
time. So, I mean, look, there are always going to be new words, not just in English, but in other languages too. People are coming up with stuff all the time. I don't know. Don't feel bad if you don't know a word. Whatever.
Feel bad.
I don't think it's that.
You feel bad, and you.
I don't think it's
you
that big a
take
deal,
it personally,
buddy.
If I use a word you
man.
don't know, okay? I'm trying
Look,
to
man.
offend you.
When when I'm trying to think up words, I'm not thinking about what they mean or what they sound like. I'm thinking about the shape of them. I told you guys that. That's like how I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So seeing a new word, maybe I don't think about it in the same way because I'm not thinking about like what's the new meaning I learned or what's the new, I don't know, how do you spell it? I'm just thinking the shape. This goes into the registers of shapes.
You know what's really,
So
really
your brain is like Tetris. It's just shapes fitting into other shapes.
Maybe.
well. I mean, like there was literally somebody who would they would like, it was like an autistic person that they asked them what the shape of numbers were, and they would mold the clay into a shape, and then days later they would ask them the same number, and sure enough they would like make the same shape. What's interesting to me is that you process words visually, I process them orally. So that's why I have so many puns, because as soon as I hear a word, the word just plays in my head on repeat like 1,000 times and automatically just kind of morphs into a pun. Like I can't help it. You know what I mean? It's weird that it happens that way.
Anyway, whatever. Right. We're all pretty weird. There you go.
Orally, Tubo. Orally. AURALLY. Okay. I saw that face.
Orally and orally.
Almost exactly the same. Yeah, it's the same word.
You gotta say that up. All right, cool. Well, thanks a lot for hanging out, everybody, for the official Tuesday show.
Dude, do we even need a hangout session at this point? I mean,
I think we're good, man.
All right. I mean, do you want to do a hangout session, or do you just want to go ahead and call? Because I mean, we're reaching the end of the time anyway. We're being really bad at trying to end it. But I mean, again, what I like is that the mailbag questions, now that we have time to pontificate on them, we do have the ability to kind of do a hangout thing. So
pontificate.
That's a good word, dude. Pontificate.
Sometimes I'm surprised about what other people think are hard words too. I don't know.
Sometimes I'm surprised at how dumb the average person is.
Not what
David Philip Graham, 2022.
Not what I'm trying to say.
Sometimes it's hard for me to realize how unintellectual the other individuals are.
The commoners. Those blue-collar workers.
Dude, pontificate is a great word, though. See, again, that was the situation where when I came to that sentence, there was no other word. Like, that's the word that came to my head. I wasn't even trying to be, like, using a big word, but that was, like, the word that worked, you know?
Well, all right. I have nothing to add. I'm done making fun of David.
Pontificate looks like a pier stretching out into the water to me. It's like the shape.
That's cool. Dude, I just kind of want to do this now. Like, I want to have a whole show where we just come up with words, and I just want to know what David's shape is for it, you know?
I don't know. Leave me alone.
With seagulls. Oh, man. There's also times, like, I keep thinking of, like, puns, and I'm like, I can't be the first person to think of this pun. Someone else has got to have thought of this already. Like, I was just sitting there thinking of the word momentum, and I swapped the M with the W, and it became womentum, like women momentum. And I was like, there's no way I'm the first person who thought of this.
Yeah, that just sounds like a Marvel ad for the new Captain Marvel or something.
And I looked it up, and there's an organization.
Corporate thing.
There's actually an organization. Sure. There's a group out there called.
There you go. Yeah,
100%.
Sounds corporate to me.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way that I'm the first person to have thought of it. So, but you know, that's just I said. That's how my brain works with words. So.
Oh boy! Right,
so no
into the deep hours.
No hangout section. Then we're just burping.
Oh, I guess not. This is about the time that we would normally end the show anyway.
Right.
So.
We did it. It's over.
All
right, cool. Well, thanks a lot for hanging out, everybody. I'm gonna be going to Frosting Faustus.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's
weekend.
Yeah. I mean, we should probably also mention, if we're not doing the hangout section, you know, they've finally announced Elizabeth Blondtorch for KOF 15 final character. 39 initial roster is now in existence here, and so you know, obviously I'll be talking about that a little bit more tomorrow night, but you know, very, very cool that we actually know the official roster now, the official 39 roster pre DLC. That's the word I'm thinking of.
DLC.
It's coming out next month, all right?
Yeah. Less than a month now. Less than a month.
There you go.
Coming out very soon. Yeah. So there you go.
All right. Yeah. Cool. Well, please watch Frosty's. Hey, Brock, what are the streams for Frosties?
Dude, there's Spooky, there's Low Kick, there's a bunch of them. There's like 8 of them or whatever.
Okay. All right.
So just look at the Frosties Twitter. I'm sure that they'll help you guys out with that.
And that is twitter.com/frostingfausties. Is that right?
You nailed it.
Also,
That's it.
Baiken is coming out on Friday for pass holders. Monday for everyone
boy.
else. Baiken will not be legal at Frosty Faustings.
Yeah, right. I'm going to show up, picking my Baiken, and you're going to liken it. I don't think they'll even download that patch. So
No, they can't. I mean, if it comes with any balance changes, they can't. They can't.
I mean, so.
And if they're using
Womp womp.
Gaming Generations, Gaming Generations is probably already driving that stuff down there. So
Pompous looks like a like an
Tell us,
hourglass.
David.
Like an hourglass that's top heavy. Like the top of the hourglass is wider.
Like
than
broad, like a broad-shouldered.
like
Human?
Baiken.
I guess, yeah.
So Baiken is
Now
pompous.
Baiken has a
I didn't
booty
mean
now.
a
Baiken has a
person,
booty
but
now.
I just
No,
meant as like a.
doesn't work. He said it's like this. Anyways, let's end the damn show. What are we doing?
All right.
All right,
What are we
thank you
talking
guys.
about?
Thank you guys for watching.
I'll see you guys this weekend. If you go to
UCTV.
Frosty's, say hello to me. We will give each other elbow
will not.
taps from 6 feet away.
I'm gonna kiss you right on the mouth, Leonard Nimoy.
Enjoy.